One of the most interesting and weirdest debates that I've ever seen or come across from the Bad Batch had to be from episode 5 in regards to Muchi the Rancor. Not only was the episode itself unexpected, but the discussions of morality and debates it created in its aftermath, aka Rancorgate, what I like to call it, is something that I've yet to have seen any other Bad Batch episode do. Or heck, even The Mandalorian. The main point of interest in this episode was Muchi the Rancor, with many afterwards wondering if this baby ends up becoming the full-grown adult Rancor that Luke Skywalker later kills in Return of the Jedi. Suffice to say, countless articles were created on how Luke is such a bad person for killing what is now a beloved creature in the Bad Batch series, on which at the same time a big debate was also happening on whether or not Muchi even was the same Rancor that appeared in Return of the Jedi. And this is where things got really interesting. Because, spoiler alert, not even Lucasfilm themselves were sure. So, let's get to the basics first. In episode 5, we meet Muchi, a female baby Rancor that the Bad Batch must rescue from some slave traders in order to return Muchi back to her owner, Jabba the Hutt. And okay, right from the get-go we know these things, that the baby's name is Muchi and that they're a female. And also, considering that the Bad Batch takes place so many years before Return of the Jedi, so it would make sense that this baby would be an adult by then. Okay, now what do we know about the Rancor from Return of the Jedi? Well, nothing actually from the movie itself, which is a main reason why these debates on if this is Muchi or not started in the first place. However, going through the canon sources outside the movie, then we're able to learn that the Rancor's name is actually Patissa, and that they're a male, not a female like Muchi is. But what's interesting is that things only got a lot weirder when Lucasfilm were asked about this. As when one person on Twitter wrote to Tamara Becker Wilkinson, the writer for episode 5 Rampage, they said, "Nice work on today's episode of The Bad Batch. Love all the references and action throughout. Return of the Jedi is gonna be different when I rewatch that one again. Poor Muchi." With Becker Wilkinson replying, "Right? Go easy on her, Luke." And suffice to say, this whole Twitter interaction really complicated things. As even though Patissa and Muchi are supposedly two different Rancors in canon, it's obvious that the writer here for this episode intended for Muchi to be Patissa. However, when Pablo Hidalgo of the story group was brought into the Rancor Gate conversation, he instead responded only with, "There's 2 decades between instances and not enough info to conclude one thing or another, I think." And when asked to further elaborate on whether Muchi was in Return of the Jedi or not, Pablo replied, "Muchi went on to live in the country with a nice farm family." So in his typical way, without giving specifics away, we can conclude that Pablo isn't exactly a fan of Muchi being Patissa, nor does it seem like he was filled in about this whole thing before it had happened. To add to all of this, when Pablo did make his replies, Becker Wilkinson at the same time also deleted her tweet about Patissa being Muchi. Which goes to show that either she wasn't allowed to say that or that Lucasfilm weren't too happy with her making up her own canon and putting out such misinformation on Twitter of all places. So by looking at all of this, it's obviously clear that not everyone at Lucasfilm were on the same page regarding the identity of this baby Rancor. Especially when the episode writer says one thing while the rest of Lucasfilm are like, I don't know about that. Regardless, no matter where you stand on this debate, I'm pretty sure we can all agree that it's by no means far-fetched to believe that Jabba owned more than one Rancor. And for all we know, Muchi could have been Patissa's sister or even mate. And that for me makes so much more sense than trying to do mental gymnastics to somehow combine the two characters into one. But let me know your thoughts about Rancor Gate down in the comments below, and whether you still believe that Muchi transitions to a male named Patissa, or they're simply just related, mates, or whatever. And as always, this is N7 from Silo, signing off.